What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Objective Media. So I was going to hold off to do the first video until tomorrow, but I thought I'd just do one today so you can kind of get an idea of what the videos are going to be like on this channel. If you watched the introductory video, which is a video before this, you know kind of what it's about, but this is just kind of be an introduction into the actual style of the video. So you guys can get an idea and a feel for what's going to be going on here. So anyway, I saw this story today on Reuters, and I'm going to put the link to it down below. Thought it was very interesting, and I want to go over it with you guys. NATO allies have just agreed to increase defense spending by large margins, and this is very different from how things have been going recently with NATO. We've seen cuts that ended in 2014. We've seen some increases, but only from a few of the different allies. But I think we're seeing a broader increase right here. And this is according to NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg. All right, now Jens Stoltenberg is Secretary General of NATO, and he made the announcement on Wednesday. Now, this is he's saying that this is for two reasons. Number one, an outreach to the United States to show they are willing to shoulder more costs, which I think is very important, right? Obviously, if you look at President Trump, he has been very outspoken about more countries taking responsibility in terms of NATO and things like that. And then if you look, at these other NATO countries, they're not really spending anything. But he says he's also motivated by Russia and their annexation of Ukrainians' Crimean Peninsula. If you remember, that happened in 2014. But we'll get into all this as we go out through the course of the video. But this is according to, again, Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, who announced all this stuff on Wednesday. Now, Canada and Europe, right, these are the two areas that are going to be doing it, will raise defense spending at the fastest rate for 3 years, starting in 2017, okay? And it's going to be a 4.3% increase, which is just massive. Now, if you look at it, it's the fastest growth in more than a decade. Fastest growth in more than a decade. Since cuts ended, because these cuts, there was a decade of almost like cuts that ended in 2014, which were terrible. And then in 2015, there was a growth of 1.8%. And then in 2016, there was a growth of 3.3%. And now NATO Secretary General comes out, says we are going to boost this up in 2017 by increasing 4.3% in defense spending, which is, again, massive. Stoltenberg said that the $280 billion this year was NATO's way of showing Washington that they were reliable allies. And I've got a quote directly from him right here. For me, and this is, again, a quote. For me, America first is not only America, America first is not America alone. No other great power has that. China, Russia do not have anything like the U.S. has in NATO. 28 allies that stand together with the United States, which provide support. So he's clearly reaching out, in a way, to the United States and saying, look, I understand you're not satisfied with what we've been doing so far. And I know you've been talking about America first because Trump has been talking about that. But he's trying to say, look, NATO, don't leave. Okay, we are good allies. The 28 of us, we stand behind you in everything. So we are going to do this increase of defense spending to show you that we're willing to help you out, right? That's what we're going to do, and that's what they want to do. Now, the figures for each individual ally and how much they'll be raising it, those figures will be released on Thursday, right? So we don't have that information yet, but very soon that'll be released. 2017 spending will add $46 billion a jump since cuts left Europe without vital capabilities. These cuts have done that, and defense cuts just tend to do that. You have to cut some areas. If you're cutting defense, you got to cut some areas. One of the main capabilities that was lost during these cuts were refueling airborne jet fighters and bombers. Now, again, it's not so much Trump that's doing this. We know that Trump was there and was very strong and direct about making sure that NATO shoulders this, and he's had some rhetoric about leaving NATO if they don't. But again, it has a lot to do with Russia and how aggressive Russia is becoming, and the annexation of Ukraine's Crimean Peninsula. That happened in 2014. Now, if you notice, we're just looking at the facts. The decade of spending cuts ended in 2014, and there have been defense increases in 2015 and 2016. Now, nothing to the caliber that we're seeing now with the 4.6% increase, but there was, small increases since 2014. And I think it does have a lot to do with Russia being aggressive. I think that scares a lot of these countries because it's like, what is Russia going to do? They're very quiet about things like this. They don't have an agenda that's just out there. So it's startling to some of these countries. Now, after that, right, the annexation and everything like that, this is a treaty that was signed. That caused allies in NATO to agree to a 2% spending of economic output on defense every year by 2024. Now, only 4 of the 27 allies did that. That was Greece, Britain, Poland, and Estonia. Romania will do it this year, and there's a couple others that are going to be following suit next year. Now, 25 of NATO's 29 allies plan to lift spending this year. NATO governments will produce national plans this year for the first time, showing how they will reach the 2024 spending goal. And not only is this just focused on spending, but also on monitoring troop contributions to missions and acquiring technology such as precision-guided munitions. And right here, again, this is going back to Jens Stoltenberg. He said that the increase in funds would be spent on more military exercises, training and equipment that allowing NATO troops to deploy at an even faster notice, as well as pay salaries and pensions. And he said, quote, "It's more about high-end forces, heavier forces, and more ready forces, meaning we need forces that are fully equipped, fully manned, and fully trained." This is cool. This is really cool. I'm happy that they're doing this. I think this is good. But that is my opinion. You may disagree, and you can leave your comments down below on that. As for the reason that they're doing this, I'm not going to speculate. I don't want to say it's all because of Trump, because that may not be the case. I do think that, according to Stoltenberg, if we're going to go with what he's saying directly, which is what we're going to go with, because that's without speculation what we have so far, a little bit has to do with Trump. Obviously, if he's saying, showing the United States and making a point to show the United States, probably has a little bit to do with Trump. But this whole Russia becoming aggressive and thing like that is becoming a concern for a lot of other countries. And they want to be able to defend themselves, and they want to stand together because by far the United States is the biggest contributor to NATO. So the fact that they would be leaving would hurt NATO very badly. So that's that. NATO increasing spending. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Kind of the first video here on Objective Media talking about kind of giving you an idea of what's going to be going on the channel. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. I will catch up with you guys later. Bye-bye.